Okay, perfect. Thank you everyone for joining us today. A very warm welcome to all of you. I'm really happy to be here today. Not just to host this session, but to learn alongside all of you. Most of us, especially in an MBA journey, we realize pretty quickly that real learning doesn't always happen with lectures and in classrooms. It happens when we're making decisions, day-to-day trade-offs, negotiations, and that's exactly what today's session is about. How gamified learning brings those real-world moments into a classroom in a meaningful way. And to guide us through this, we are very delighted to be joined by Dr. Rik Paul. He'll take us inside BML Munjal University's gamified learning environment and show how this modern approach is shaping management education. Over to Rick.
Thanks, Chitrita, and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining in on a Sunday noon, and I'm so happy to see that all of you are here and excited about it. And most importantly, all of you are MBA aspirants, right? So in that sense, when you look at traditional approaches to teaching, often, I mean, you have been into traditional approaches of teaching. You have been through your 10th, 12th standard, then you have done your graduation. Now, when you move to MBA education, see, it's for many of you, unless and until you are crazy enough like me to do a PhD, for many of you, this would be kind of the final formal education of your lives, right? And back in the days when we used to study, I'm a millennial, you guys are all Gen Z. So as a millennial, when I used to study, I got my first computer when I was in college, like what, third year, final year, probably. That's when I got my first, computer. And then we had internet, and it was very, very expensive back in the days, right? And access to information was pretty much limited, right? And our mobile phones never had that capabilities of getting all that information that you get these days through Chat GPT and Gemini and Siri and whatnot, right? So it's just a click of a button. So you see, sitting into the classroom is not necessarily always to gather information. What is because information is freely available. What is important is to understand the application of this information in real life scenario, right? And in real life settings. So out of all the different tools and techniques that you have actually experienced in your classrooms over the last few years, you would see a very different approach here. And many of the courses at our university follow kind of an approach. And I'm going to give you a full-blown understanding of how it all works out. And if you are ever interested to get into a learning environment like this, well, this university is kind of would be your prime choice, right? So let's look at what gamification is. Like this thing sounds really fancy, but there is lot to it. All right. Let me start with a little interesting Chinese proverb. Many of you have heard this. ChatGPT would tell you this. You'll get to see Instagram posts around this. So it says, "Tell me and I'll forget. Show me and I'll remember. Involve me and I'll understand. Step back and I'll act." Right. So the entire uh, fundamental basis of getting into a gamified learning environment is for the professor to step back so that you guys can act on the knowledge that you have, put it all to perspective, and learn on your own with the guidance of the professor. All right. And the professor essentially assumes the role of a mentor, not just passively teaching you through a PPT, but then guiding you in solving real life problem in a gamified environment setup. Now, even before we try and understand what a gamified setup is, let's look at few tools and techniques in the classroom that you might have come across. Depending on which college, which university you are in, so these are some of the very popular pedagogical tools, right? आप लोगों ने, you might have gone to case studies, you have done worksheets, your professors might have done PowerPoint, you have done Excel things on an Excel sheet. They might have asked you to read news articles, there were group discussions, guest talks. There would have been a learning management system or online learning segments like have your Coursera and NPTEL and so on and so forth. Then you might have gone into an internship. Then we use a lot of sharing tools and techniques like Google Drive, WhatsApp, so on and so forth. So you see, these are a whole bunch of tools and techniques, right? But as a professor, I use all of the techniques every now and then. But what do I get to see in the class? So this is what happens in my classroom. This is what, if I look at a typical class, if I resort to either of these techniques, there are mixed reactions, right? There are mixed emotions. Some people are happy, some people are not, some people are involved, some people, get very critical, right? Because half of you are all hooked to your mobile phones, right? And so there is this WhatsApp going on, and then there is this something happening on Insta, new reel that has popped up, so on and so forth. Now the point here is, you see, the entire reason for you to be in classroom is not necessarily getting an attendance, right? It's also to learn, because you're investing your time in that 1.5 or 2 hour of the classroom environment, and you are trying to learn, you're trying to apply, right? And it really has to be exciting as a Netflix series that you would probably binge watch, right? So let's see how that is done in an environment, in a classroom environment. But even before we move into gamification, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some visual cues, all right? I'm going to show you 5 different cues. And then quickly on the chat box, I would request to see what is that common thread across all these different little cues that you get to see. These would be all visuals. These are going to be all photographs that I'm going to show you across, very simple photographs of games, and look at all these different games and see what is that common thing that binds them together. All right, let's start with, I'll give you like 5 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds for a visual cue. Look at that cue, try and understand what it is all about, and feel free to, drop your understanding in the chat box. So my chat box is on my screen, so I would be able to see all that you guys would be typing, right? So this is cue number one, right? It's a classic game of football, right? Take a moment, think through what happens in that game, right? Very exciting game of football. Take a moment, think through what happens in a game. You don't have to type in right away, but there will be a few more cues that's coming up. That's visual cue number one. That's a game of football. You see? Moving on to our next cue. It's a board game, right? It's a sort of, you might have played board games. These board games has mobile counterparts these days. So you can play a Ludo, you can play a Monopoly, you can play a whole lot of board games which has their mobile phone counterparts. But the essence is nonetheless a board game, right? You might have played with your friends, with your family, with your parents. It's a classic game, a board game, can be a board game for that matter. All right. The third cue is, wow, that's something like a PUBG. That's the video games that you might have played. 2 or 3 of you competed against each other, and you might have played a whole lot of video games in your life. I mean, I remember when I was growing up back in college. So there was these games like Call of Duty and Max Payne, and then there was Prince of Persia. So I loved playing all of that games. Mafia, by the way, was one of the best games that I've ever played. Um, if you have your hang of playing games, you would know probably many of such games that you play. And these days we have Discord where you can team up and you can play. So that's a classic uh, video game. Yep. Then you have, all right, that's like, team building games that your teachers might have done in school or college during orientation programs. You might have done a whole lot of team building exercises. Uh, these are again games you would have been participating in teams, so on and so forth. Um, so what I'm trying to do here is give you a set of visual cues. I'm going to repeat all those cues again and would request that you find a common thread across, what is that thing or those things which are common across all these different visual cues, all right? And the final visual cue is kind of, it's a game of cards. Can anyone tell me which movie scene is this? Which is this movie? Can anyone tell me very quickly? Which movie is this? Anyone? I mean, you can unmute your mic. You can type
Try,
on the
try.
screen. Which movie set is this?
Casino Royale.
Yeah, this is kind of Casino Royale. So you see James Bond there. It's one of the classic James Bond movies. Well, it's a game of poker, right? So let me just go ahead and repeat all the cues all over once again. Let's start off with, if we go back, we started off with a game of football. Then we went to board games, very different kind of game, but game nonetheless. Then we looked at all those video games that you play every now and then on your mobile phone or your PlayStation connected to your TV, right? And then you have a class of I mean, team building exercises that you might have done in your colleges. And of course, this is a game of cards. Take a moment and quickly drop in your on the chat box. What is that common thread across all these games? I mean, you can unmute your mic and you can talk, or you can also put a drop a comment on the chat box. Students can comment, right, Chitrita? They can comment.
Yes, they can.
All involve tactics. Yeah, indeed, it involves tactics. Anything else? Good observation. Yes. Anything else? All right. All games are playing in group. Yeah, indeed, groups. Yes. Another observation. Very good observation. You play in groups. We should have more to do like extracurricular to make life interesting. Indeed, extracurricular is equally important. I'm going to stress about it going forward. Yes, it's goal oriented. Thanks, Abhiraj, for this. Ishan, I'm going to come back to your point sometime later in this thing and why co-curricular is important, right? When we talk about MBA program in general, right? All gives tactics, playing in groups, make life interesting. There is a competition going on, of course. So there is a clear-cut winner and a clear-cut loser, right? There's a clear-cut winner, clear-cut loser, right? Okay. Anything else? Do we play this game endlessly? Is my question. Do we play this game endlessly? Right? We can keep on playing, 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 playing. Do we play this game endlessly?
I would just like to request anyone you can unmute yourself and respond in real time to Dr. Rick. He would, I think, appreciate that kind of a interactivity.
And that's all right. And let students first get comfortable. I'm going to tell them a story to make them feel more comfortable. I'll be story from my life. But let's focus on the game a little and right. So you see that all these okay no we can't play this game endlessly like football, right? So yeah, so this is time, right? So there is a 90-minute time frame or a 1 hour time frame. So this of course time bound, you see. So few things that come up right away. One, of course, there is a competition, right? There is a common objective, goal oriented, right? And when you say common objective or goal oriented, which means how would I decide who is the winner, who is the loser, right? So there are clear cut parameters to decide who is a winner, who is a loser. You see, there is competition, there is learning, there is unlearning, there is time bound, and all all these games they have a modus operandi, right? I mean, there are rules and regulations, isn't it? Sorry, the rules and regulations to these games, right? So you have players playing in individually or in groups, or they compete with each other, or and then there is this clear cut winner and a clear cut loser. And of course, there are clearly defined parameters which decides who is the winner, who is the loser. And then there are also strategies that go along, and the players learn as and when they go. Now, you see, we talk about this thing endlessly. I mean, you might have in the process of getting into an MBA program, you would probably get yourself into many of these, multiple of these seminars. And in all these seminars and all these from various universities, you see one common thing. You know, see the classroom over period of 20, 25 years has been the same. and it's not changed much, right? Your mobile phones have changed, your the clothing, your style has changed, food habits have changed, right? Travel has changed. Swiggy, Zomato has come up. Booking a cab has changed. Everything has changed over the last 20 years, but the classroom still remains the same. Now we understand that, and we believe that the future classroom should look way different. And gamification is one way. Why I say gamification is one way? When I involve all those little elements and the principles of game into a classroom, that becomes a gamified environment. And I'm going to give you a classic example. I'm going to show you photographs from my classroom that would help you understand what I mean. So let's look at some of the principles of game, right? So this is what we're talking about, right? Every game would probably have all these different elements. So either it would be played in teams or individuals competing against each other. Like you correctly pointed out, there is a clear-cut goal or goal orientation or an objective. Of course, there is competition. And if there is a competition, which means there would be winners and losers, there would be clear-cut performance indicators, right? And there would be defined rules and instructions. Then there are time limits to it, right? And of course, at the end of the day, there would be some rewards and recognition to the winning team. And at the same time, they're in the process of playing the game. There would be a lot of learning and unlearning that is happening, right? So these are some of the basic principles of a game. Now, how about we use this in a classroom environment? Some of the photographs, okay? So I'm going to tell you a concept, right? That concept is being taught at the MBA, final year, and see how that is done in a classroom environment. And you will see that the classroom does not look like a regular classroom. It's a very different classroom. Okay, so very quickly, let me move and show you some of the photographs. Yeah. All right. So those who are from a BBA background, you might have come across this term called service blueprint, right? It is and those who are not from a commerce background, let me just give you an example what this is all about. This is like you have seen blueprints of houses, right? Houses and homes and flats. You get a blueprint, proper blueprint. Similarly, when we look at services, any service for that matter, be it hotels, be it restaurants, be it online delivery, any service for that matter, services would follow a sequence of steps, right? For instance, if you look at the service here, this is essentially if you want to stay in a hotel, so this is what the blueprint of a service looks like, right? So there would be customer actions, like the customer would go and do a whole lot of actions. Like when you book a Swiggy or a Zomato, you do a whole lot of actions yourself, right? Even if you go and stay in a, there are a whole lot of actions that you would do. So you see the second row here essentially maps all those actions that a customer does while he or she reserves a hotel room. And there is a whole lot of that happen against or corresponding to the actions that the customer does, right? So when you say, for instance, make a reservation, then there would be a website. Then when you arrive at the hotel, you look at the exterior and the parking. So it's a complete picture of what happens to a customer when or she comes to a service or avails a service, right? And then there would be, frontline employees who interact with the customers and they have certain say about it. Then there would be backstage employees who would in actions. So this is just truncated version of a service blueprint, but service blueprint essentially captures the complete essence of the service. Now you understand something. This thing is easier said than done, because when you look at a service as complicated as boarding airlines, there's so many different actions that the customer takes, so many different actions that the service provider has to ensure, and all of these things together becomes way complicated for a manager to comprehend and understand. So it is always better to have a flow chart of sorts, to get a hang of what's going on, because there's hundreds of things that can possibly go wrong, right? Now, this is what needs to be taught in the classroom. But teaching it just by saying this is what it is really kind of does not solve the purpose, right? Because you'll probably learn It's just like remembering an OTP. How long do you remember an OTP, right? Just for a few seconds. You probably learn, you can have the learning outside the classroom for like few days, and then probably you might push off, right? And it's kind of learning fades away. Now let's see how this learning can be made even more interesting. Now you see, to deliver this, look at the classroom that was, and you will get to see some of my photographs. So it's a whole lot of photographs, that's it. So you see, so the entire classroom, first principle gamification, they're briefed what they need to be doing, and the significance of a blueprint and how blueprint helps managers. So this is like kind of the entire class, and the class was divided into small teams. Like you see in a game, what happens? The class is broken down in. I mean, there are teams competing against each other. You see, and every team in front of them, you would get to see a whole lot of Legos and die-cast toys and models, and every team was given the responsibility to design the complete service layout. Right, different teams were provided with different service environments, and they were asked to create the complete service layout for the same. So you see, the different teams, they have their materials in front of them. So this is what the material. So this team was given the responsibility to create an airport, right? So all that elements that you create an airport is in front of you. Now you have to think through how your airport would look like, right? And what would be the sequence of steps that the customer would take. So you will see how this is getting formed over the period of time. And of course, this is an exercise that ran for 1.5 hours for the entire duration of the classroom. Now, these are actual photographs from the classroom. So you'll get to see the students are brainstorming on how their airport should look like. Some of them got a zoo, some of them got a airport, some of them got a railway station, some of them got a car servicing station. So these are all actual photographs from the classroom, and you see they were also asked, the person or the team which creates the best service experience for a customer would actually be the winner, right? And identify the maximum number of waiting points and the failure points for customer. They would be the winners, right? So there were cut winner and losers. Now you see, this is how the zoo is coming up, right? How amazing it is to create something on your own in a competitive environment and then get evaluated rather than just passively sitting in a classroom and listening to the professor. So I'll show you the final product. So these are all brainstorming that is happening. Now, this is a car service station like I talked about. That's me back in the days. So it's a whole lot of now that the students are then during the process of the evaluation, they are asked to explain what the journey of the customer would look like. Where would the customer go first? Where would they go next? What are the other possibilities? So you see, this is another setup of a zoo. So you see two different types of zoo that has come up, right? Now this is an airport. You see, this is like the full-blown architecture of the airport, and you would get to see arrowheads, which actually talks about the customer's journey in the process. You see, and at the end, every group had their own blueprint that you guys saw in the beginning, and at the same time, they also had their own service setup, right? So they had their own service setup. So this is another very big airport that the students have created, right? So this is how things get translated into the actual learning environment. You see, this is a very different kind of a classroom. These classrooms are not where professors come in and share their thoughts and push off. This is a classroom where everyone is involved, and there are strategies, there are learnings, there are unlearnings. All these things happen actually inside the classroom. Quick questions before we move to the next piece, right? I'm all in the chat box. You can also unmute yourself and ask me any questions that you feel. This is just a one-off example. There are multiple examples like this, right? So quickly, any questions that you see? These are actual photographs from the classroom, so you might have inquisitive, might have questions. I'm going to show you something else as well. So quick questions, if you have been listening to me, looking at the photographs. may sound a little complicated because this is what we do in the MBA, final year of the MBA program, in a course called Marketing of Services. So questions on, well, Divyansh, indeed it is, I mean, and in my experience, I've been doing this for last 10, 15 years. And what students tell me is the learning, see, there are two different types of learnings that happens in the process. Number one is, of course, the professor guiding you while you are creating it. The second, there is also peer-to-peer learning. So you have like 10 people sitting together in a team or 5 people sitting together in a team. You learn from each other, right? Which otherwise does not happen in a standard classroom where the professor comes in and kind of shares his knowledge and you guys are passive listeners. Here, there's two different learnings that are put to practice, right? So, peer-to-peer learning, you learn from each other at the same time, then you have the professor coming and questioning you. And this kind of an environment, you're free to use any online resources whatsoever. So in my class, I don't go ahead and say, oh, don't do chat GPT, don't search. See, it is a part of our lives and we're supposed to do it, right? So, in my classes, people are free to use whatever, technology they want to get answers, right? So, oh yeah, thank you. So which means you have an understanding of what a gamified environment is like, and I'm sure this would have been a great learning experience for you, right? So gamified environments are kind of becoming very popular. Let me give you one more example now. When I was talking about Chat GPT and the usage of Chat GPT, I teach a course called Consumer Behavior. I'm a marketing professor, so my end semester exam paper had the questions and also had the ChatGPT answers, by the way. So you get a question paper which has the questions and which also has the ChatGPT answers. Now, and ChatGPT and Gemini answers. Now, what the students were asked to do was critically examine those answers and figure out what is wrong. You see? So this is a very different kind of a learning where you are not asked to write definitions. You are not asked to write a whole lot of analysis or stories. It is all there in front of you. Now you have to critically examine where did ChatGPT go wrong. You see, so that, and those capabilities in a student only comes when they apply knowledge in a classroom setup, and these are the capabilities that even corporates want from their employees these days. So when I look at corporates, when I talk to them, they say we want students who have critical thinking abilities, right? They should not be the kind of person, well, where they're not going to break their heads. They really need to understand, critically analyze, and apply things that they have learned during their MBA program. All right, okay. So if you are I'm sure you have joined in from various parts of India, and many of you by nature would be either introvert or an extrovert, right? But like for extroverts, it is very easy to get along with a team. But for introverts, what happens is, see, in a classroom, when you are asked to get involved, where there is like 70, 80 people sitting together, and you are asked to get involved, you kind of really feel shy, and you are hesitant to involve yourself, right? However, for if you are into a smaller team, I have seen people who are like kind of introverts and shy, they really hesitate to open up. In smaller teams, they become very comfortable. That's another advantage of a gamified learning approach, where everyone gets an opportunity to put their thoughts, put their apply their knowledge, which otherwise in a large classroom setup is often not possible. That's why it is broken down into smaller teams, so that you can interact in a smaller cohort. And most importantly, you get a professor's personal attention, right? The professor, you see, talking to in a class for like 1.5 hours, the professor is talking to you in a class, you hardly get involved. Here the professor moves around this entire gamified environment, talks to the every single group, even if for 15-20 minutes. That learning in 15-20 minutes that happens, the kind of questions that the professor poses really helps you think and understand and get things forward, right? Yeah, in turn, it is a great way, and it's a very helpful way for students to absorb what they are actually learning in a gamified environment. Let me just quickly go back and show you one more example, right? And now here in the other example, you did not see a classroom at all, right? It was all broken down. Here you will get to see a classroom, but you will see the dynamics of the classroom is very different. There's no student who was sitting in their seats. All right. So uh, let me go to the next piece. Then again, you will see a whole lot of photographs. How many of you know this thing, this puzzle? How many of you don't know this puzzle? I mean, many of you might have done it. Mele mein milta hai, right? Online milta hai. This is a Chinese puzzle. This is a 400-year-old Chinese puzzle. This is called a tangram. Yeah. Nice. Nice. It's difficult, right? So solving it. So what it gives you is all these shapes, and then you have 7 pieces which you have to put together and create a shape like that, right? Okay. And now this puzzle technically, yes, indeed childhood memories, man. So I'm going to bring your childhood memories back as soon as you see this puzzle. All right. And how this is used in a classroom. How many of you have heard of this company called IKEA? IKEA? Give me a hand. Yes, I have heard IKEA, right? Yep. Oh, you purchased from it. Oh, great. So IKEA, you see, IKEA is a company which sells DIY furnitures. DIY furnitures meaning, so you go to an IKEA store, you look at the design, and and you purchase it, and it gets shipped to your home, or you get it to your home, and then you assemble it yourself. So that's the whole idea, right? You have to assemble a furniture yourself based on the design that you see. Now, in the classroom, we created a complete buying and selling complete furniture market, right? Where these designs became the proxy for furniture designs, and there were retailers, and then there was there were customers. The customers were given money, proxy money. They went ahead to the retailers and purchased these designs and these tangram sets to go back and assemble at their seats. So some people were able to assemble it as per the design. Some customers were not able to assemble it in terms of the design, and they sought help from the service providers, which is a standard process that we do. Now let's see how the class look like. Okay, so this is the whole essence of the tangram piece, right? Now so you see, this was the classroom. So this is how a typical classroom looks like, right? So everyone's sitting there in their respective seats. But what happened was, then there was retailers. So these retailers were given these different shapes to sell, and at the same time, they were also given the tangram sets to sell to the customer. So you see, there's a whole buying and selling happening. So all that things that you learn in a sales and negotiation class is applicable in this scenario, where customers are coming to the retailers, they're looking at the designs, and they're purchasing a design in lieu of money. You see, so the retailers are selling the designs. These are customers who are buying it, and then they go. These are all retailers. They have their own stores. So you see there is little stock out photographs, which means this particular design is not there anymore. And now this is the customer. So customers have received the design, and they're trying to assemble it as per the design, just like you do with the IKEA store, right? You take this design, go back to your home, and you start assembling it, right? And that is what exactly that is happening. See, the customers are trying to assemble it. And if the customers fail to assemble it, they call the retailers for help. So the retailers come and provide an after sale service. You see, so there's an after sale service. Of course, there are other complications that goes on, as in like there are difficult designs, and then there are easy designs. It's a whole lot of complication that is built into this gamified environment, where the difficult designs are priced lower. Why? Because the customers would come back and seek help, and they can charge additional service charges, right? But easier designs the customer would be able to assemble, so that priced higher, right? So there was a whole lot of complications. And at the end of this entire buying and selling process, the retailers were asked to evaluate or calculate how much money they have received, right? So they are like calculating the money that they have received. And at the same time, the customers were also requested to put up a feedback on how their interaction and buying and selling process went. So at the end of the day, you would get to see a whole lot of feedback red being poor, yellow being okay, orange being green. So there are four different furniture retailers that participated in the process in the buying and selling, and then the customers gave their ratings to all these retailers. Now you see, it exactly mimics what happens in reality, but it also happens within the classroom environment in a very specific time. Now, where the exact learning happens is when the professor debriefs and you guys share your experience. Why did you get furniture retail poor, or why were you happy with their services? What went wrong in the buying and selling process? And in the process, all the theories that you would have otherwise learned in a sales class, they all get reflected in this kind of a learning environment. So you see, once again, this is a very, very different kind of a learning experience, right? Because you are all involved, you share each other's experience, retailers share experience, customers share their experience, and this is a very, very different way of learning in an otherwise standard classroom, right? Imagine the kind of excitement that's there. Imagine the kind of learning that's there. Imagine the kind of what you called encouragement that the students had. So the 2 hours of the class would just go in a blink, and the learnings, most importantly, would stay with you like kind of forever. These are just two odd examples. Now there are multiple other examples like this. You see, and it's just a simple puzzle like Chinese puzzle tangram, and that is used to simulate this kind of a learning environment. Would be happy to answer some questions if you have. So I gave you two examples right from classroom, and I'm going to take you to one level higher, right? So these are classroom environments. Questions, please. Questions, please. Yes, I'm going to talk about it, Ridhima. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So you see, if you look at an MBA coursework, I'm going to talk about activities in analytics or finance specializations. I'm going to come to that. But if you look at an MBA program, see the first year of your MBA program would always be core courses, right? And in the second year of your MBA program, you get all your specialization. So if you want to specialize in analytics for that matter, or finance for that matter, all the specialized electives would come in your second year. The first year would be all your core courses where you have to go bits and pieces of finance, accounts, HR, marketing, business statistics, and business communication. So these would be core courses. Second year, you would have those specializations, and I'm going to show you something else. But I'm going to take some quick questions in this, in whatever we just saw. And all right, I'm being asked a question as you're kind of like uh, these are some direct questions that are coming up, not in the chat box. So I'm like kind of a Lego Studio Display trainer. So I'm certified to use Legos in my classroom, and I also train professors across India on how to use this kind of gamified learning environments. Some of the premium B schools, I go there and train them. Uh, Yes, there are simulations. Riddhi, I said like there are simulations for finance as well as analytics. Questions are coming up. Allow me a moment to show you what it is. So what we do in finance, and so not just particular to finance. Once you have a thorough understanding of the business, we run something called a capstone business simulation, right? And I'm going to show you that simulation interface as well. Now, this is a complete online simulation. You have elements of finance, you have elements of analytics, you would have elements of marketing, all of it put together, right? So I'm going to show you that interface. But if you have any more questions with the simulated environment that you just saw, yes, you can always take major and minor. In fact, you can also do a dual specialization, right? So your major and minor is kind of decided on the basis of the number of electives that you take. So there are like 10 electives that you need to take in the second year, out of which if you take like 6 or 7 electives in a very specific area, you become major in that area. And whatever electives that you take later on, these are all my what you call your minor area. Or if you take 5 electives in one area, another 5 electives in another area, so you become a dual specialization. So that's a mechanism that's worked out. But let me talk about um, uh, let me quickly show you what a capstone business interface looks like. Okay, so that you know what you get yourselves into. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I'm going to start presenting my screen now, right? So in the final year, students play online, complete online simulated environment where they actually run their own business, right? So these are the different, this is a simulation which is ongoing at the moment with senior leadership of the Hero Motocorp. So they are all putting their heads together. So there are, you see, there are 5 teams. And I'm in a Teams interface as an instructor. I can get into Teams interface. So let me quickly show you what it is all about. Now, in this kind of a simulated environment, you so this was an environment where you had to actually create your own bicycles, right? Carbon fiber printed bicycles. Like, so you can actually go into uh, brand management and you can actually create your own bike. So design brand. And so see, these are bikes, you see? So you can get to see, so you can actually design your own bikes. So this is how the bike looks like, so on and so forth. Now, once you have designed a whole lot of bikes, then you can actually go ahead, set the pricing for that bike. You can decide the price points. You can decide what sort of advertising that you might like to do, right? So design ad content. So you'll get to see these are the ads that you have designed. You can get to see the advertising, how it looks. So you can go ahead with the local media placements. Uh, you can look at, you can compare and contrast different bikes if you so wish to, and your competitors. I'm just giving you a sneak peek. There is a whole lot to it. Now, someone asked finance, so there is a whole. You can check investment budgets. You can check division profitability that is happening over the period of time, right? And this is all happening in a competitive environment, right? So you create your own bikes, you go to the market, you launch it, and then there is a balance scorecard which understands how you have performed in your business. There is marketing, there is analytics, there is a whole bunch of stuff that goes along. Now, these simulations are played in teams. This team, so you on the right side, you get to see the team manager. So these are the people who are a part of this team. And now in this particular game, if you get to see the number of teams, you get to go to the performance report, balance scorecard. So player standing. So this is get to see how all the teams have performed, right? What is the total performance, financial performance, market performance, marketing effectiveness, investment in firms' future, creation of wealth. So these are the 5 teams, 6 teams who are competing against each other, right? In terms of their own business, they have started their own business, and they're kind of like going ahead. And there's only 8 rounds, 8 quarters. So every quarter is kind of given you like a week or two to take the decisions in a very specific quarter. But at the end of the day, you get a complete market share report. So there are different segments. There is a youth segment, work segment, recreation segment, how each and every team has performed, right? This is as close as it can get to the real market environment, right? What exactly happens in reality, right? These are very advanced simulations. This we actually play as a part of our capstone course. And there are other similar simulations which are played across various courses, right? This is gamified uh, learning to its core, all right? So I'm going to questions, if any, right? I would be uh, happy to answer any questions, right? Well, this is what we just experienced is just one way of delivering key concerns and key learnings in a classroom. And this kind of learning is very different than standard classroom learning. All right.
I have
So
a question.
yes, please go ahead.
So, you said that in corporate world, this kind of learning really helps. So, I want to know that do recruiters and industry experts actually do they ask you what kind
Yes,
of
they do. Yes, they do. There are recruiters who would specifically ask them, have you gone through a simulated environment? Right? So these are kind of really, really important because this is where they get to apply their knowledge. Like you see, when you look at science subjects, so there would be theory and practical, right? In management, there is hardly any chance where you can do a bit of practical, right? One way of going about practicals is to go for an internship. That's one way of looking at it. However, internship just gives you a sneak peek. That is not a 360-degree coverage. A simulated environment like this is kind of, you can treat it as a practical for management courses, where you get to apply everything that you have learned over the period of 1.5 years or 2 years, right? And recruiters do value this kind of learnings, because this kind of learning, of course, requires trained professors, and also requires the university or the college to invest in this kind of environments. All right. Okay.
My
Ishan
next
asked me.
question is in link with what others are asking. Is this part of the final year project? Basically, some people are asking that what happens at the end of the learning? How are you evaluated? Do you write it out as an essay?
Okay. So what happens is, see, the simulation evaluates itself. So there is a balance in this kind of environment. There would be a balance scorecard. So the balance scorecard essentially measures your performance. How did you perform in the simulation, right? So if you look at player standings, so right now the clear-cut winner total performance, the clear-cut winner is Carbon Craft Cycles. You see, so this kind of evaluates a simulation evaluates. This is a very objective measurement, and this objective measurement comes from all the breakdown of the other parameters that you see here, right? Over and above that, in between the simulation, you have to also present a business plan, right? In the third, the fourth quarter, you kind of have to present a business plan, right? What do you intend to do, right? What is happening in and around, and what your competitors are doing, what do you intend to do? So you have to present a complete business plan, something like what happens in Shark Tank, right? So they'll be given 15 minutes to pitch their business, and that also decides how much investment that they're going to get, right? So that investment piece is also here. So how much investment that they're going to get on the basis of their pitch, and with that investment, they have to pay the rest quarters that is remaining. And at the end of the simulated environment, or the simulation, whatever be the outcome, objective outcome, they are also requested as a team to put forward a reflection paper, right? Where they talk about, okay, these are the stuff that went right, these are the stuff that went wrong. This is, I mean, if we have to play the simulation all over once again, we would do this, all these things differently, right? So this is how it is evaluated. Evaluation is not just like one parameter. There are multiple parameters that gets evaluated, and this is kind of a 360-degree evaluation of a student. And Ishan is asking me whether this is online or this is a prototype. Ishan, this is an online simulation where you can sit wherever you are and you can play it, and you of course play against each other. So there would be competing. So if there are like 30 people in your class, so there is like 5 people, there will be 6 teams of 5 people, and the 6 teams are going to compete against each other, right, in this simulated virtual environment. So now that you said that whether it's a prototype, now this is a simulated environment. However, in our management school, we also go ahead and do something like a management fair, where you technically set up your stall, and I mean, you can decide what stall you want to set up. So this is like a 50-acre campus. So you set up your own stall, and you sell things, right? So there's a two management fair that happens. So you keep on marketing your stall for like a week or two, and then you invite people to your stall, and then you sell products. Many of the students would go ahead and create, stalls for food. Many of them would create stalls for accessories. It's like a 2-day complete exercise. And believe me, not just one particular course gets evaluated there. There are like 6 different courses that gets evaluated there, right from accounts, then HR, then marketing and finance. Their final evaluation happens in that management fair, where they actually sell products and prototypes that they have made. So this is a virtual environment, and then we also have real prototype environments in the form of management fair that happen. All right, questions, more questions. We have like kind of like 5 more minutes for questioning. Ask me as many questions as possible.
So I'd like to ask you, Dr. Rik,
Yeah,
that
go ahead, please.
right now, when students they haven't yet, the ones who are aspirants and who have not yet joined an MBA program, there must be something that they can. There are online games that you mentioned that people can work on to keep sharp and keep their mind engaged in this
Mhm.
before they join. Do you have any tips for that?
Um, See, normally when I see students coming to the MBA program, there are two key challenges, because in an MBA program, in a cohort, there would be like 30% of the class would be kind of BTech students, then 30% would be from BBA students, and then again, from a commerce background, and another 30% would be from various other backgrounds. Now, ideally, what I advise the students that they are preparing or aspiring to join an MBA program, please do certain online courses on two key subjects. One being economics, another being business statistics, right? These are two uh, areas that the students struggle in the initial days, because these are all foundation courses. So it is important that the students get a hang of it even before they join in. The games, for the sake of playing the games, there are a whole lot of games. There is a little website called coolmath.com where you can go and click on management. But then again, those games are like unsolicited games where you will have learning, but the learning won't be mapped to theories or other content. In order to get this kind of gamified learnings, you have to essentially join an MBA program where this kind of gamified approach is followed, BMU being one of them. But if you really want to gear up and get a head start in your MBA program, whichever university or college that you join, I would suggest that you pick up a course on fundamentals of business statistics, and I think economics. Any online content would do. Riddhi, you are asking about applied business research project. So applied business research project is essentially another way of, see, gamified environments can take various forms and various shapes. As long as those principles of gamification are applied, it can take various forms and various shapes. So we witnessed like 3, 4 different types of simulated environment, right? From use of Legos, and then puzzles, and then complete simulated online interfaces. Then I'll also give you an example of management fairs that happen, right? But there are other live projects that the students do, right? In the form of applied business research project, where students essentially interact with a company, understand their problem, and they apply their learning in that company specific problem. So there are possibilities of live projects that also happens as a part of the complete MBA curriculum, right? Uh, okay, for operations and supply chain management, there are a lot of games that we play in the classroom. I mean, I was not able to show due to the constraint of time. There's a classic game called the beer game simulation, right? That's a complete supply chain simulation. I wish I would have kept something for that. Yes, we do play a whole lot of simulations in supply chain management, right? Beer game simulation being one of them. You might like to go ahead and search what a beer game simulation is. I'll just quickly type it. I don't know. Can I, everyone in the meeting? So this is beer game simulation. This is a classic operations management simulation that we actually do in the classrooms. Same time, we also do, I personally do, a manufacturing simulation where we use origamis, right? We build a fighter jet in the process, and the entire class observes, right? So yes, supply chain and operations is a whole lot of simulations, and that happens. Yeah, indeed, your capstone simulation captures the essence of it in totality, but in specific to supply chain on the supply chain management classrooms, yes, we do have a beer game simulation that happens. I mean, in fact, I have a LinkedIn post where you will get to see this beer game simulation in action. Chitrita, if you could just share it across with everyone. It was done for the executive MBA program. It's a beer game
Sure.
simulation that is happening in the classroom. So students get an understanding, okay, what a supply chain simulation looks like. This LinkedIn post that's there.
We will share.
Yeah. Questions? Any more questions, please? The chat box is in front of me. Ask me any questions. You might like to ask me questions beyond gamified environment, MBA program. Otherwise, ask me. Shoot. So this is your time. It's rare that you will get to see a B school professor talking to you directly, unless and until you become a part of an MBA program. But so if you have any questions, pertinent questions, you might like to ask. Very quickly.
I'll just scroll up to see in case we
Yep,
missed any
yep, yep,
question.
yep. Do that.
There aren't any questions, but there is one in which I think Ridhi is saying that I've done a similar activity in my final year of graduation to team up with newcomers in my
Yep,
university.
yep, yep. We do such orientation programs, yes. And then there was one question that I really wanted to answer. I think it was regarding co-curricular activities. Someone said that.
Hmm. Yeah, towards the start.
That was the start, someone asked for the co-curricular activities, right?
So we should have more such co-curricular,
No.
extracurricular activities to make
All
life
right, okay.
interesting.
So let me tell you, let me give you one little example, and probably will close with that. You see, when corporates hire you as an employee, they don't just look at you as a person, right? They would look at an overall package, right? And I have been a professional drummer almost close to 14 years of my life, right? Let me give you one little example from my life, kind of that will help you understand why co-curricular activities are important, right? So I was in graduation days, and after my graduation, so there, of course, there's a placement drive that is happening in the university. And I did my graduation in microbiology before I moved to management. So, so I was, so we were all called for a personal interview in Taj Hotel. So every five-star hotel property, they would have kind of a microbiology lab. So we were all going there to get hired as a trainee microbiologist, right? So there were seven people from my college who went there, right? And of course, like all of you, I'm sure you would all have your own CVs. I mean, I also had my own CV, and we never had so many fancy tools and techniques to create a CV. We had a very simple CV, but I tried to make it 2 pages to make it more lengthy. But then again, 1.5 page is at best that I got to. So there are seven people who were interviewed. The interview was going in an alphabetical order. So all six were interviewed, and I was being interviewed at the end. So when I went for the interview asked for my CV. He looked at my CV, and then he flipped to the second page, and he looked at my co-curricular activities, and it was written, I'm a drummer for so and so band. I play for Hard Rock cafes and some place else, and so on and so forth. And then he started probing me, asking me questions on uh, how do I manage things, right? How do I manage my studies and then my commitments to music, and where have I played? Have I done a studio recording? How many people are there in my band, so on and so forth. And all of it was around my band and my activities, my co-curricular activities. By the time I got a hunch that, probably the interviewer has selected whosoever he wanted to. And as because I'm there, he's just doing his formality. I was very frustrated, and of course, I moved out of the meeting. After a week or 10 days, the principal of the college called me, right? And he handed me a envelope, and he said, Rik, congratulations, you are placed. So your joining date is so and so. You're placed with Taj Bengal. Now, I'm like, the very first thing that I did, I'm legit, I'm telling you, took the envelope, opened it up, looked later, whether it is the job of a musician or a microbiologist. Because I was not a single question I was asked in my area, right? But it was for the trainee microbiologist. I went, of course, I was excited, I was happy, but I was very confused at the same time. So I started working with Taj 15, 20 days, a month, but that question still lingered in my mind. So when I became very comfortable with the person who interviewed me, I asked him a simple question. Sir, there were seven people that interviewed, including me, right? I have an understanding of the kind of questions that you have asked them in terms of microbiology, in terms of experiments, so on and so forth. You never asked me one single question from microbiology, right? And how is this that I am seated? I mean, many of them were academically better than me in of their CGPAs and whatever. Now, this person gave me a very simple answer, and that is the kind of answer that really resonated with me and really made me think very differently going forward. He said, Rik, all of you are from the same college, correct? And I'm saying, yes, sir. All of you are taught by the same professors? And yes, sir. All of you have first class marks in your respective courses? And yes, sir. I asked all of them similar questions. They all gave similar answers. And I'm sure if I had asked you the same questions, you would have also given me similar answers. And probably, yes, sir. But Rick, what made you different was you know how to work in teams. You know how to manage time. You know how to hold on to commitments. You know how to juggle between your band and your activities, and you still manage to get like decent scores, right? And this is what we want in an employee. We want someone who would be very comfortable working in teams. We want someone who would understand the importance of commitments. We want someone who can juggle between different activities together and still perform. So these are some of the qualities that you already have, right? And none of the people that I interviewed ever had this kind of skill sets. So you have that, and that's why you were hired. You see, I did not get hired for my academic proficiency. I got hired because of a co-curricular activity, right? So it is not just having co-curricular activities. It is about pursuing a passion that kind of shapes you as a person. Like if you come to our university, there are 22 different clubs, right? There are different clubs like martial art clubs and photography clubs and debate and painting and whatnot, right? So part of your learning happens within the classroom environment and the simulated environments. Part of your learning happens beyond the classroom. You see, so it's equally important that you also get involved into some of the activities beyond the classroom, because that would shape you as a person. That would build in you certain capabilities which otherwise does not get built in a classroom environment. So yes, to answer your earlier question, indeed, co-curricular activities are equally as important because it shapes you as a well-groomed individual, right?
I think we are running a little over time. So,
Yeah, it's okay.
any
That's okay. I mean, like a lot of questions that has pop up. Ishan, I hope it really helped you understand. Um, Abhiraj. Okay, Abhiraj asked me, sir, being a student from humanities background, how will I be able to adapt to it? It doesn't really matter. I'm a student from microbiology background. I'm a professor in marketing. So don't bother about it. MBA program is always taught from scratch. Day one would be all taught from scratch, right? But yeah, these two courses, like I said, economics and business statistics, before you join the program, do a little online course on that. I'm sure it would really help, right? And
We
then,
also have Professor Rick. We also have a bridge program that we start
yes,
in some time. These are
yes.
webinars with specific knowledge classes. Maybe we can look at with Professor
Absolutely.
Advitya or something around
Absolutely.
economics.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why not? And I would also suggest all the students who have heard me right now, you can go to my LinkedIn account and just quickly post my LinkedIn, this thing on the chat box, so that
Yeah.
you can be connected with me irrespective of wherever you are. And I'm sure you all have a LinkedIn account by now. So this is what my LinkedIn handle goes like. You might like to quickly get connected with me there. So let me just put the LinkedIn handle. So this is for everyone in the meeting. You will get to see a whole lot of gamified environments in my LinkedIn posts. So you might like to all, um, you know, reach out to me there. And beyond that, my team here, Chitrita, and the rest of them who organize this webinar, you can always reach out to them. And
Yes.
there would be a post engagement that happens. Uh, would
We will
request
be in
that you keep
touch with
connected.
everyone. Our counselors will be in touch with everyone, and of course, there'll be emails going out with all tips and insights that you learned today. So, if there are any further questions, please share them with us.
Hmm.
Professor Rick, thank you so much for
Okay, so
joining
just
us.
one last question is like Ankit has asked the two courses. One is on microeconomics. Let me put it down. Microeconomics. Uh, Not to Ankit saying, I'm putting it for everyone in the meeting. Microeconomics and business statistics. Business stats. All right. So these are the two courses that you might like to do a quick top up before you join an MBA program, whichever MBA program or university that
Hmm.
you go. If you wish to come to my classes, then BML Munjal University is the place that you should belong. Okay.
I think your LinkedIn inbox is probably the notification must be exploding
I
with
know I have
everyone
to
is saying
check.
request send, request send.
That's okay. No problem. No problem. I am happy to connect with students uh, all the time.
And I think that
Well,
is what we appreciate about you, Professor Rick. It is that the passion and the energy you bring while teaching someone, and you enjoy teaching so much. And I want to thank you for bringing your insights here, and everyone else who has brought their curiosity and their questions.
hmm.
Thank you. Um, we
And it
hope
was my
we hope
pleasure. And I'm happy that, at least 20 odd students, they joined in on a Sunday
on a
afternoon.
Sunday.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that's a great thing. You
I
know,
think I think a lot of them are also people who are right now working, so
okay.
probably spending their Sunday figuring out how games, how you can, management and games works was something that interested them.
Mhm. Thank
So
you
I
so
think
much. Divyansh, thank you so much, man. I hope you enjoyed and there was some learning, some takeaways, and
yes.
hope to stay connected. Hope to see you in my campus. Should you wish to come, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Ishan, Divyansh, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. All
Thank
right,
you everyone for
Shivjita.
joining us. We will be logging off now. All your questions are most welcome. We'll be in touch with you. If you have any further questions for Professor Rik, you have his LinkedIn account. You can also email us and we will help you get in touch with him. Okay, thank you so much.